Hey, check up. Let's play some D. Welcome to episode 47 of Play Some D. And as always, it is your host, Big D. No, Coach D. Big D, Coach D. I guess they all intertwine, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, your boys in the house with the Big 4-7 at this week's installment, this week's quarters, we got a little peek in overtime, and overtime is really just to touch on a topic of what I've spoke on before. It's about award season and award show, not award season, award shows, and obviously it's the backdrop of the drama and mainly the awards and all that good stuff. But there will be OT this episode. In our four quarters, our four topics, we're doing sports. I'm gonna revisit like I spoke about the happiness topic, I believe, on 44 or 45, and I want to revisit that topic once again, and then I want to talk about the parental rights and education bill that Ron DeSantis signed, aka Don't Say Gay bill. I'm gonna talk about that briefly, and the demise of the Los Angeles Lakers. I just think I didn't really want. I mean, everybody and their mamas are going to be talking about the Lakers, and I don't. I mean, you talk about, you want to talk about interesting stuff. That is, I mean, nobody wants to hear about anything boring, or you do want to talk about interesting stuff, and everybody's going to be talking about the Lakers, and I'm just gonna go in and get my little 2 cents in. Not gonna dwell on it or anything at all. I did I believe before the season, I don't know, I'd have been episodes way back. I mean, I would probably be, I don't know. I don't even know. I'll have to look. But I did a quarter on the Lakers when they got Russell Westbrook and talked about it. So I'll talk about the Lakers. And then women's basketball. I'm a huge advocate for women's basketball. I'll specifically be speaking on Dawn Staley here in the second and first quarter, but mainly just the women's basketball sport. Just reiterate some things and talk about that. Uh, but as always, if you don't mind, push that like button. Love you hit that like button. Love you hit that subscribe button. Would love even more if you comment. Tell me what you think about them Lakers, happiness and award shows or whatever. We'll go back in older episodes and drop a comment. You can also turn on those post notifications, when these videos go live, because they always be bangers, and 47 ain't gonna change that. And yeah, with that being said, let's tip this baby off in the first quarter. In first quarter, like I said, we're gonna talk about uh, Dawn Staley, the South Carolina's women basketball coach. She's been they won a national championship. South Carolina won a national championship. I did think Stanford would win. I thought Stanford really choked. They didn't play their game. Well, neither really did UConn, and either UConn didn't play their best game in either of the in the Final Four game or the championship. So in all fairness, UConn, they did not play well in either of those games. They did just enough to beat Stanford, and Stanford was just trying not to lose the game, and then they lost the game. I think that's how I saw it. They didn't get after it. They weren't attacking like they were supposed to. They didn't run offense like they normally do. It was a very, very interesting game. But South Carolina got the job done, stomped out Louisville, stomped out UConn. Don't think they would have stomped out Stanford. Just Stanford just matched up so much better against them. But Dawn Staley has done something very, very good, in my opinion, to women's basketball, because Gino Oriama, however you say his name, Gino from UConn, he's just been steamrolling the women's game. And Dawn got there in 2008, 13 seasons. She's 331 and 103, 76% win percentage. It took her 4 years to get the team really, really rolling. they went to the NIT in 2011, and since then they've been rolling. Sweet 16 in 2012, 13, 14 they didn't get either. It looks like, right? Well, I don't know what this is, but they had some Sweet 16 runs. Then they were the champion in 2017 with Asia Wilson, Elite 8 and 18, 2019 Sweet 16, 2021 Final Four, and this year they won a national championship. She was a unanimous coach of the year in 2020. 2 number 1 recruiting classes, and that's really where I mentioned Gino in, is that now everything about her, women basketball players will see interest in that, and I think that's important. There's obviously other coach than the Stanford coach. Stanford's always going to be up there at the top. What other women basketball programs? Actually, it's not that many, to be quite honest. Baylor. I guess Baylor is the only other one that really comes to my mind. But for the longest, it just felt like UConn. And then when Baylor got like Brittany Griner or other teams just got a good player, they were able to compete. But you always feel like UConn were going to win it. But I think now she sweetens up the pot a little bit. She creates that diversity where people – the only thing that I don't hope is that she turns into the new Gino, where everybody's going to South Carolina. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope it does spread out, where I hope the women's basketball starts to grow and evolve and change into what I personally believe it could be. I think it could be I don't know how dynamic it can get. I don't know how big it can get, but I think it can grab market space in sports. This is when the good players play against the good players. I think it's exciting. I think most people feel that way too. And that's why, I mean, it doesn't look like, unless the WNBA or NBA, I don't even know how that commission works to change the rules to switch that age limit, because the age limit is that whole concept of women not being able to, international women can play in the WNBA, but women from the United States can't, got to be 22 or 4 years removed, 4 years in college. It's silly, because the WNBA needs the likes of Paige Becker and Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston and Haley Jones, Cameron Brink. There's a lot of that was kind of just the Final Four. The girl from Louisville, she's a senior. She's gonna get drafted. I forgot her name. She's gonna be like a top 6 pick. She's a senior. She's coming out, but it would diminish the college game a little bit, I think, if all of them did come out like the big stars. But I think the WNBA needs them more. I think the professional league needs them more, and that would then get more girls interested, get more girls, whether you call it training, working out. I think it's just more interest. I think a lot more women are good at basketball, but they don't see anything in it really. Unless you really, really love it, you're not. You want some incentive out of it, and some people just don't want to go to college for 4 years, and I don't know. I think it will help the game. I think most people agree with that, but supposedly, I guess the rule can be changed to 2027. But basically, Dawn Staley, the swagger, the energy, and I think Hubert Davis has a little bit of that, and you saw that with the North Carolina group. They just have the sport in a good place, and I think and also kids are not kids. They're all grown. Everybody in college are grown adults. Calling them kids should really not be a thing anymore. Like, they're not kids. They aren't. I understand where you're coming from by saying it, but people in college are not kids. They may have some kid-like tendencies, but they also have some adult-like tendencies. Some of them are brands. Could have been for years before the name, image, likeness deals. They're not kids. So those type of coaches invigorate that energy in the sport. And there may be a girl that's like, maybe an 8-year-old, 9-year-old now, like, I want to play for Dawn Staley. that's the energy you need. I think those type of coaches get the spark rolling. And even if they don't play for South Carolina, maybe Dawn goes to coach in the NBA, which she could, and she's no longer a coach of South Carolina, but that got that young girl on a path to want to play in the sport, and then she'll go to a university and dominate or be good or whatever the case may be. But that's why I just wanted to kind of touch on that angle, that I just think even her on the sidelines with I believe the reports or whatever, I'm not sure whether the coat was Louis Vuitton or just a varsity jacket that she loves, regardless of the matter how she dresses on the sideline. I think that's totally important too. I said the suits were the dumbest thing for the longest. Like, everybody else has on jerseys and the coaches have on suits. That's just, it's dumb. That only reason that changed because of COVID, the bubble. Like, well, not the bubble, but yeah, COVID. That essentially changed the outfit of the coaches. And you should, the head coach of a team should be able to come out on the court in pretty much anything. I mean, if you want to look stupid, you can look stupid, but most coaches aren't. You're gonna dress appropriately, but you want to be comfortable. You want to encapsulate your team, your squad, your personality. Everybody not a suit person, a suit and tie person, or heels. Like, she shouldn't have to walk around in high heels or flats. She wear tennis shoes if she wants to. That all matters, and I think that matters to especially this generation who's like why are we in these standards and these things? And I think she just breaks that mold of what's been there for so long, and I think it really, really can. I don't know if it will. It looks like it is, but I don't know. Is this longevity in it all? I don't know if it will change the sport, but I know it will help it. People like that energy. Like I said, Hubert Davis. I feel like Hubert Davis has a little bit of that too, but it's early. He's 1 year in. Dawn's been doing this for 13 on the women's sideline. I said she can coach men if she really, really wanted to, but it looks like she's gonna stick this out and try to build a thing here. And I think her building her thing could, once again, repetitive, but I think it can expand the sport, and I hope it does. But shout out to her, shout out to that squad. I don't personally think skill-wise they were better. Baylor was kind of similar. I thought Baylor was quite similar to South Carolina, like skill-wise. It was more like brute force and coaching. Her coaching style and what she gets out of her players is I think won it for them. And then Aaliyah Boston is a bit of a mismatch for, probably 80-90% of the teams in women's basketball. So she'll get her buckets, but I do think personally, as a coach myself, there's a way around, playing against her and things of that nature. But shout out to Dawn Staley, shout out to South Carolina. I could talk about her all day, do a whole segment because there's just a lot of stuff. 4-time SEC coach. She was Temple's head coach for 8 seasons, where she had almost a 70% win percentage there. USA basketball, 430 win seasons with South Carolina. I could just go on and on and on. But that's first quarter. That's Dawn Staley. She is a beast, and I love everything about her. Love the swag, love the energy. I honestly really, really love her coaching. She's a really solid coach, and you kind of just would have to watch the game, dissect it just to see how she makes adjustments, switches up things, and gets her players in the right positions to succeed. And that's important in basketball for sure. Quarter number 2, we're going to stay in the basketball realm and quickly talk about the demise of the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't even know where to begin. I did speak of them back episodes ago about the Lakers and what I thought of the rest of the trade and what would happen. I definitely thought they would make the playoffs. I'm pretty sure everybody thought they would make the playoffs. I thought the playoffs would then become I thought that's when this would happen, and kind of the demise of them would happen. You would get the say say in a perfect world, Russell Westbrook had a really good season. Anthony Davis and LeBron were in and out of the lineup. Now it's like, who gets the ball at the end? Is Russ standing in the corner spotting up for a three when LeBron, for when Lakers are down one and need a basket? That's the stuff that would have mattered in whatever, say it was Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals or Game 7 of the semis. Either way, it's like who takes those shots, who believes in each other to take those shots. That was what I thought would be interesting in the playoffs. Like, where do you put Russ? Who's on the floor at the end? Is Carmelo out there? Is Carmelo going to be a liability? All that stuff unfolded throughout the season, and mostly because of injuries. Had LeBron not got hurt, probably this last twist, they would still be fighting, but I don't think they would have made it. But Anthony Davis' injury is obviously the elephant in the room. Him getting hurt, not always his fault, but he's always hurt. That's the nature of it. That is what it is. He's hurt. And he cost his team some games that they should have at least got the 6th seed. They should have never even been thinking about a play-in, even just with playing not even that great. Defense was, I don't even know. I honestly don't even know how to describe it. It's been so bad for so long, and it doesn't really make sense because they have capable defenders, and it just seemed like at some point they just didn't care anymore. I even asked one of my friends if they thought Russ was point shaving at the time. I mean, the last week or so I've been watching him play. His jump shot looks way better than it's ever had the whole season. Don't know if it was really in his head or the whole Westbrook idea was really getting to him. And those whole shenanigans was very interesting to me too. A guy like that, letting that bother him, maybe he really was, having some issues with his game. I don't know. But rewind all the way back to the trade is that you give up Kuzma, regardless of what Magic says, who they could have got, DeRozan, Buddy Hield, whatever the case may be, to trade youth and two solid players, KCP being a good three-point shooter and defender, Montrezl Harrell, whether you got him, you don't need Montrezl for 82 games. You'd be happy to get a solid backup big man for 41, half of them. He's going to give you 20 and something, at least probably half of the games that he's active in. So you get 20 games of that from him. Those are probably wins. More than likely, those are going to be wins. Then he's going to give you the energy in the playoffs. So to lose 3 guys like that for one guy who you guarded in the bubble, who you didn't guard in the bubble, to say, oh man, I want that guy on my team was really strange. And then he just didn't fit with LeBron. And AD. He didn't fit. AD needs the ball more than he actually gets. AD should have the ball at the top of the key sometimes, ISOing. He used to be a point guard. Now he's really reserved to, AD should be doing what Jokic does. He should be bringing the ball up, facilitating. He never does that. So bringing Russ in, I thought just screwed that up. The Lakers were totally fine last year. If Anthony Davis doesn't tweak his groin, they beat Phoenix. They go to the finals. I don't know if they win it, but they go to the finals if AD doesn't get hurt. That's just so they didn't need to change anything. They just needed to be healthy and run it back. But they decided to do that. So Phoenix Suns and just perfect basketball gods or whatever you call it, basketball timing. The Phoenix Suns eliminate them from the playoffs for the second year in a row after they should have beaten the Phoenix Suns last year. And I think all teams knew that Anthony Davis got hurt. I mean, I would think that everybody would know that that's the case. Whether if everything was ifs and buts, every day be Christmas and nuts to get that. But didn't happen. He got hurt. Phoenix went to the finals. Kudos to them. But, I think everybody understands that. The last thing quickly I want to speak about is coaching. I didn't think Frank Vogel was a very good coach in Indiana when he had a pretty darn good squad. I mean, At the time, Roy Hibbert was one of the best centers. David West was really, really good. Lance was okay. Paul George was emerging, and they were right there. Obviously, they lost to Heat, and had the Heat not been in their way, they would have made it. But I think he just did silly things playing the Heat, and he's always had, once again, mainly my point is that he always had good players. He's always had good players, and in the bubble, I or whatever. You got LeBron and AD 2 years ago. Anybody could coach that. I'm just being honest. Anybody could have coached that team. They had a good team. You just had to put them in the right spot to succeed, and that shouldn't be hard. And then with this group, you have guys like Avery Bradley on the court, and I mean, I don't know the whole ins and outs of the older guys and who was hurt, who was not. But you throw Wayne Ellington in there sometimes. DJ Augustin, you just bring in a small guy who doesn't do anything with the ball. You just hope he makes a shot and hopes he can play defense, but he really can't. It was just a weird outlook. I mean, he got something out of Stanley Johnson and got a whole lot out of Malik Monk, which was expected. Malik Monk's was never a bad player. It's just Charlotte has a bunch of guys, or had a bunch of guys that all did the same thing, and everybody can't be on the same team doing the same thing and everybody eating. That's not how basketball works. So, coaching, could they give him another year? Maybe. It's really all about who replaces him. It has to be somebody that understands the situation, being able to get these guys easy baskets, relate to the players. The players I think that's more important than anything in today's basketball, because if you're in the NBA, you can hoop and get a basket. You can look at some of this evidence. Look at some of the Thunder's guys in Portland, who they got out there. I mean, they go out there and put the ball in the basket. You're in the NBA, you can put the ball in the basket. You just need a coach that can get you there. So, yeah, really wild season for the Lakers. I don't know if it's the biggest disappointment in NBA history. It's definitely up there. I would have to look through and do some research, but it's very, very surprising they didn't make the play-in. But even if they made the play-in, they were going to lose. LeBron's hurt, AD's hurt, and I thought they should have just shut it down. When the Spurs jumped them, when LeBron twisted that ankle, I thought they should have shut it down for the season, as at risking AD get hurt or hurting something else, and then being out a whole nother season, or LeBron doing something really bad. Ankle injuries. That ankle wraps around the Achilles, and it just the ankle, let's not get nobody hurt out there, okay? So, yeah, Los Angeles Lakers 2021-22 season was an epic failure. Halftime of Play Some D47. All right, third quarter. So third quarter I didn't really I've been thinking about talking about it for a minute, but I want to get a little more mixy, get in the mix a little bit more with the political stuff, and I will. And just to talk about Ron DeSantis. It's really the Parental Rights and Education bill. It's dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill. They dub all these bills. They put names on it. The political system is just it's a mess right now. It's really a mess. We need more parties. Mainly, we need diversity, because it's becoming like a show, like a weird show now. So according to the text, the bill is to reinforce fundamental right of parents to make decisions regarding upbringing and control of their children. It takes effect July 1st. That's a deadline of June 30th, 2023 for the state to come up with updated standards that could decide what age-appropriate instructions look like, Require school to notify parents of any health care services being offered to children. Opportunity for family to opt out. Require school to get permission to parents before administering a well-being questionnaire. A health screening allows parents to sue in court if they believe school violated the new law. So, are these things in the bill okay and controversial? I would say yes. I would say it does both. There's an argument for both sides of every single thing that I read there. But in most cases, it really is supposed to affect like young children. And classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through third grade. That's the frustrating thing about the bill to me. If you wanted to, and I've said this about multiple things, and this is just this is really what third quarter to me is about, is that there's things that we can all touch on that we can get to. But the priority of some of these things, kindergarten, third grade, I love Jen Psaki's response to somebody, and like she said, give me a name of a school, teacher school that teaches this to kindergarten to third graders. I mean, I would be hard pressed to find any examples of it. So, if it does, and this is for public schools, I'm almost positive this is public. I'm pretty sure I read this is public. So private, yeah, it's public schools. But forget that. It's so many other things that the Florida House should be talking about besides this type of stuff, like infrastructure. I know they don't believe in climate change, but there's just so much other stuff that's really real that affects like a bunch more people in a bigger manner than this. I just think that energy needs to go a certain way. And I totally get the strategic side for Ron, because Ron's running for president. So he wants to get so many people on his side, and getting in the newspapers, getting on TV, people seeing him like, oh man, his side, his crowd, his tribe getting behind him. So, oh, I like what he's doing. He sees what that gets him that hand claps, the pats on the backs, and leads to the White House. So I get the strategy, but I just wish that this didn't happen in our political world right now. Like I feel like things could be fixed, whether it's the right or left to fix them. But let's fix the big stuff first, and then go fight about the little stuff later. It happens in everything, marriages, friendships. Like, what are we talking about right now? Like, you get into these situations where it's like, are we really having an argument, or are we really wasting our time on this? How much of this is going to really affect us and things of that nature? Like I mentioned, the stuff in there, notifying a parent of any healthcare services, that could be tough, because if, you got to look at it on the kid's side. What if there's crazy wild parents out there who could be doing all kind of stuff to kids at home, and they want to go to school? That's where they can escape. That's where they can go talk to somebody. If parents have to be notified, then that kid's in a bad spot. Then on the flip side, parents should know if their kids are in trouble. If a kid is being treated amazing at home, parents love them to death, and they just feel like it's still something wrong and they want to get help at school, you know, parents should know, like, oh, what am I doing wrong? The parent that actually does care and isn't hurting their kid. So it goes both ways in terms of what is what needs to be said to parents, and parents should obviously have rights to their kids to know what's going on. I think most parents will want that, but wrapping it around LGBT and sexual orientation and what you can and can't say, that's really not even being said. At least there's not many examples of it. There are people that are saying that it's happening, just like there's a lot of people that are saying stuff that's happening that's not happening on both sides. We need some good hard proof, before you start taking it's almost if like, oh, let's build a bunch of Sasquatch killing traps in the forest because people said that he's out there killing people that nobody's ever seen him, type of deal. Let's put a giant fish net for the Loch Ness monster because he's knocking out boats in the Pacific Ocean. Like, do we really know? Like, isn't it something else we can fix? Like, can we clean the plastic in the ocean? Can we get that? Can we do that? Can we make sure your big pharma isn't in our pocket? Can we fix our healthcare system? Like, it's big stuff. Like bridges is falling. Florida got sinkholes everywhere. Maybe we can help with that. Maybe we can do something about something constructive about crime, people in jail, help people with like homelessness, drugs, things of that nature. It's just other stuff. But that's the main thing of it. The bill, in its sense, if you want to do it, could this have been done at some point? I totally agree. Yeah, you can have a conversation, a discussion about it at some point. But right now, I feel like just isn't the time. For Ron, it is, because Ron wants to be president. I get that. I get the strategic part about it. But I really wish we could focus on the big things and come to an agreement as a country, or in this case a state, to fix the stuff that really help people overall. And there will be time. There's always time when you fix the big stuff to come back and to jump on agendas that you think or you want to discuss, and if you are empowered to pass it and see what happens with it, because at some point there'll be a Democratic governor that'll probably kill this. So very, 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 very interesting. Somewhat strange. I get it on the other side of it, but this being in the news for over a month, constantly. Like I said, it's so strategic and smart by DeSantis, but it's silly. Fourth quarter is about the second happiest people, and it's the Atlantic article, and I just want to revisit my happiness argument because I'm a happiness overall type of person, and this probably does hit the nail on the head. If happiness is your primary goal, you miss out on the challenges that give life meaning, and I would totally agree with that. I think it's a threshold for it as well. Like there were studies in here about the people that they're very happy or very cheerful, and then they revisited it. This was like 90s, and some studies in the 70s that transpired into the 90s. They calculated what people's survey results was as they progressed through their careers, and the people that basically made happiness the highest priority weren't the successful. The people that put it like second. And I would totally agree with that, because there's only so when you value happiness at a certain level, I think you're just going to sacrifice. There's just some things you're just not going to do because it's going to sacrifice your happiness. But also on the flip side of that, I think it takes a lot of time to figure it out. Not for everybody. I think for most people, it takes years into your life to figure out what really makes you happy and what's it all worth. And then I think there is times where you can sacrifice happiness, but if that gain, if that wealth or that friendship or that whatever doesn't work out in that time you give it, that you put happiness on the back burner, if you decide to do that, you put happiness back in front, and you just move on with life, because life is long, but life is short. There's, once again, two things can be true: is that you don't want to be miserable, and you don't want to. That I'm sure there's also, people that put happiness third, second, third, and fourth that aren't successful as well. Then it's like you get to your 50 and 60 and you're miserable, or whatever case may be. And you're like, what did I do all this for? What did I put all this effort into something that didn't fulfill me in life? So it's also an angle to that. But I do think it is really true. And I mentioned too, happiness, as with everything in life, happiness has its trade-offs. That's one of the main things that I'm almost positive I talked about. I didn't rewatch, but like I said, for me personally, I thought I put happiness is up there. I'm one of the lucky ones that as I mentioned, it's not a constant. It's I value it majority of the time, and there is a threshold of that. I'm not going to do something over and above just to get ahead or make this extra dollar. Like I do, I keep it down. But if I have a goal, if I want to get something done, and say happiness is watching, let's just hypothetical, happiness would be watching a whole season of a new show that just came out for 12 hours. Instead of doing that, you know, or I put that off for 2 months or whatever. Watch it later. I gotta knock some stuff out. That's a very, very shallow example, but an example. Like you figure it out. I think balance overall is key. And I'm almost positive I mentioned that before too. I mean, you can't live off happiness. You can't just be happy go lucky all the time and just hope everything's gonna work out fine. That's just not how life works. And I do think the people that find that work happiness balance, there's a lot of people that, now I bet if you looked at it doesn't say in here, but the people that found happiness in what they do, like a lot of people just don't get that opportunity to be able to do both things. Like what I do on a regular basis, whether it's to make me money or whatever. It's working out. Some people just hate working out. Some people just dread going to the gym or dread running, but they know they need to keep the weight off or to look good or to stay healthy. Some people they just dread it. But the people that love to run, love to walk, love to work out, it works out for them. And that maximize the value into that, and being, that person is more than likely gonna be better at working out, better at running, a better runner. And the same thing with work. If people, there's millions of jobs out there that you can do. So it's really hard for an 18-year-old to go to college, or a 16-year-old to start at McDonald's or a shoe store or gas station or wherever it is. If you stay in that line of work, I'm making good money, I can pay my rent, I can pay my bills. You never actually find what you really like. It's just doable, but you would thrive more. You could make better decisions, advancement, opportunities, everything when you're happy into doing it. So there's this correlation, and this is stuff that I wanted to talk about originally the first time that I didn't want to dwell and go over in. But this article is in Atlantic. It's a really good read, and I just think it's spot on. It has a lot of truth to it, but I think there's variables involved that change things a little bit for everybody. But the general concept of, if you put happiness second majority of the time, you're probably gonna have a better chance to be successful. That's essentially what the article states. And then for this week, for the first time in a long time, we got OT, aka overtime. Overtime, we'll talk about awards briefly. This is a brief overtime. overtimes in sports are brief for the most part. Some of them could be long, drawn out, and penalty shots. And baseball never stops after the ninth inning until somebody wins or a rain delay or something crazy. But anyway, award shows. Never liked them. Never liked them. They're a show. They're a show. They're meant to entertain. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But somehow, some way, they have taught the public that these award shows just mean so much. And in the grand scheme of things, they just really don't. And now it may just be so a part of what people find as like, especially with social media, to be intertwined with it, that you can talk about it and state your opinion about it. I think that's made it more interesting. I was gonna say captivating, but just more interesting. People can voice an opinion on it. So I think that helps the award shows, go on and on and on. But the Grammys and Oscars, specifically the Golden Globes, SAG Awards, and NCAACP Awards, it really should only matter, and it really should be just. I shouldn't say that only the celebrity should be involved, but it's just. And I don't even know if they even encapsulate it like that, but they make it sound like Grammys and Oscars is just such a big whole deal. And I said specifically it is for the artist, because maybe that gets them a bigger, better contract and all that stuff, or a bigger and better movie. Sure, I get that aspect of it, but in the grand scheme of things, there's Grammys that have been given out. I won't even say names. Oscars that have been given out that most people would say, "What? Huh? Really? Who voted on that?" With sports specifically, is the only other place that awards. I mean, everybody does awards. I mean, even porn stars get awards and things of that nature. But sports is such a small. I think sports is such a small sample size. There's not that many players in any professional sports that it's really easy to see the best performances. Then you got stats. And Donald Glover talked about this on the barbershop, is that it's so much easier in sports to see what people are doing because there's stats behind it in almost every category, analytical now as well. Where with movies, TV shows, music, there's no stats. It's all feeling, opinion, who's got friends, who's got the marketing, who's got, there's tons of music being made, tons of the content is at an all-time high now, tons of TV shows and tons of movies being made. And who's the best and who gets to dictate that is just, it could be head turning a little bit or head spinning, no matter how you look at it. But in the grand scheme of things, they're shows. And obviously the drama with the Will Smith thing, kind of, for me, just really brought that to light for me more. Like, this is a show. Like, it's TV, Let them handle it. Let that's their stuff. It's not ours. I mean, it's not the public. No regular person is going up there to get a Grammy. No regular person even up there presenting it to them. We're spectators and clappers and cheerleaders and things of that nature. Let them handle their stuff, and really I feel like you should just stay out of it. I mean, I just think it gets way too much coverage. I think it gets way too much publicity and value. I guess that's my biggest thing, is that these award shows get too much value, and it's no way that people should be talking about a Will Smith slap for this long. It's celebrity craze world, and to see your favorite celebrity or a celebrity win an award is cool, but that's where it should end. It just really shouldn't drag on any further. But that's my opinion. And I just wish it would be treated more as a show than as a quality of life for music, or the thing to do for music, or the Super Bowl of music, or the end all be all, and this is where it all comes into one whole thing, talking about rappers or hip hop doing their own Grammys. Like, no, it's no point. Like, people know who's good, people know who they like. J. Cole did the Dreamville Fest that's what I watched. For me, that was a way better show than anything that the Grammys could ever give me. I'm sure there was moments in there that was cool, but I'd rather watch, DJ Drama, Gangsta Grillz, J. Cole, Ari Lennox rock out. Just have a good old time, not accept some career defining or lose to somebody that you shouldn't lose to or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, that's OT, and that was 47. Play some D. Way longer than I expected. Wanted to wrap that up, but I knew I was kind of going to go far on some stuff. And brain gets to moving, gears get to grinding. I don't have a script. I don't, I read the articles, or if I'm talking through an article, I read the article. If I'm talking about a specific topic, like in this case, the Lakers or Dawn Staley, there's some things that I want to say, and there's stuff that just pop up in my head. Discussing that Parental Rights Act bill, whatever it was called, and you start to get, and then OT, I only want to do a couple minutes, and award shows are just weird to me, or not weird, but they overdo it. It's I don't know. There's something about them that just never, always rub me the wrong way. As always, though, thanks for watching. You don't mind, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Not going to drag it on anymore. 48 will be coming up, just a precursor, because I'm already kind of excited for it. I'm almost positive. I think the NBA season's up, so I'll be talking a lot of basketball, playoffs starting up. So that'll be bomb.com for me and for anybody that loves basketball talk. And I'm sure, I'll get after it. I'll dig into more. But that's the show. And as always, until the next one, holla.